orthographic projection, and now we're going to get into computer-aided design, or CAD. Um, SketchUp is a very basic CAD program, but it's really good mostly because it's free, relatively easy to use, and kind of fun to use as well. It's just fun to mess around with in your free time. Down at the bottom of the screen, you will notice there is a red block cube even with stairs cut out of it. If I hover my mouse over it, it says SketchUp. I'm going to click on that. It'll bounce a couple times, and then it'll pop up a dialog box. In the dialog box, I want you to just click Start using SketchUp right here in the lower right-hand corner. I'm going to click that. It might pop up a reminder for a update. Oh, looks like it didn't. Fantastic. First thing I like to do when I open up SketchUp is I like to make the screen full size, and I do this by clicking on this green arrow in the upper left hand corner. So I'm going to do that. Makes the screen full size. You can go ahead and come down here as well and pull out the screen more if you'd like to. Something else that will happen when you open up SketchUp, you'll have an instructor over here. You can leave that or you can delete it if it bothers you. I'm going to delete it because it kind of bothers me. I'm also going to delete this character here. I'm just going to do that simply by clicking on her and hitting the delete key on the keyboard. My next step is to come up to View, right up here at the top in the dialog or the drop down boxes. I'm going to click View, Tool Palettes, Large Tool Set. I want to make sure that you have this tool set on your screen to use. There's not enough tools at the top of this to complete the project as necessary. We need the large tool set. Since we're going to draw the rectangular block that we've been working on in class, we are going to grab the rectangle tool. If I hover over the tools, just a FYI, if you hover over the tools, it'll show you what each of the tools does. Pretty straightforward here. So I'm going to grab the rectangle tool. I'm going to come to the origin. Now, just like in math, when you guys graph, SketchUp has an origin. Now, I've zoomed in on this origin, and I want to show you a couple things. First off, the red line is the x-axis. So you guys are used to looking at this in math running left to right on your paper. In SketchUp, it kind of runs from the middle of the left side to the bottom of the right side. It's because of how you're looking at it. The green line is the y-axis. Okay, and again in math, you're used to seeing that going up and down vertically on your page. Remember, we're changed a little bit in our viewpoint. Finally, the blue axis, and this is something that you guys haven't got into in math yet, is what we call the z-axis. And the z-axis is what gives us our third dimension, or our 3D drawing. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out. To begin my rectangle, I'm going to click on the origin, on and off the mouse. Okay, I've clicked once, and I'm going to start dragging the mouse out to the right. My hand is now off the mouse. I'm not touching it at all. You'll notice that the box is still open. It's just a lined box. Now, with the keyboard, I'm just going to type in the number 5, a comma, and 2. Look down at the lower right-hand corner of the screen. You'll see dimensions 5, 2. You do not have to put in inches. SketchUp on these computers is already defaulting to inches, so it understands when you type in 5, 2, that means 5 inches by 2 inches. I'm just going to hit enter now, and the box disappears. Well, not really. If you'll use the scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in, you'll see that we have our box. You will also notice, not our box, excuse me, our rectangle. You'll notice that the rectangle is now filled in, and it has the dimensions of 5 inches by 2 inches. Now, we have to give our rectangle some depth, some 3 dimension. I want you to come over here and grab the push-pull tool. It's the little box with the red arrow poking out of it. There's a couple ways you can do this. As soon as you click on your base and you start pulling up, look at the right-hand side, the distance box. See how it's counting up in inches? You can just pull that up until you go to 2 inches, or you can pull it up and just type in the number 2 and hit enter, and it'll automatically make that box 2 inches high. Either way, whatever your preference is, either Either works for me. Now, as you remember, the box, our rectangle, I keep calling it a box, I apologize. Our rectangle has a section in the middle that's actually lower than the two sides, and so we're going to locate where that section goes. I want you to come over to your tool set again, and you're going to come down, you're going to grab the orbit tool. It looks like two blue arrows chasing themselves. You're going to grab the orbit tool and you're going to click and drag so that you can see this rectangle from the top. Now, this may require you to zoom out just a bit, so I'm going to zoom out a bit. And also, I'm going to leave mine in somewhat of an isometric view, which means I can kind of see three sides of the object at once. Once you get it here, I want you to grab the tape measure tool, and I want you to click on the edge of the one side of the box, and you're going to measure in 1 inch. Again, notice in the lower right hand corner, moving in 1 inch. Click on it. It'll put a dashed guideline there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the box. This time, instead of dragging in 1 inch, I'm just going to type the number 1 and hit enter. And it automatically centers that line at 1 inch. Okay, these guidelines don't really exist in your drawing. They're there to help you know where to put other objects. So we've got two guidelines drawn on this box at 1 inch. Now we're going to make them real. We're going to make them real by coming up and getting the line tool. Okay, it's a little pencil. And on my box, I'm going to go right here across this line. Okay, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click. I'm going to drag the line. I'm going to click again. Notice how our guidelines now change to solid lines. What that's given us the ability to do now is manipulate this section of the box like we want to do. I'm going to take the opportunity right now just to clean things up. I'm going to grab my selection tool and I'm just going to select that guideline. You'll know it's selected when it turns blue, and just hit delete. Okay, so do that for both guidelines. That gets them out of the way. Now the center section of this box is down 1 inch. So if you click on it and you start pulling down, again, you can go down negative 1 inch like this, or you could just type 1 and hit enter. Now, if you just click on this and type in 1, it won't do anything, okay? You actually have to move it in the direction that you want to move it in and then go 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to orbit that around, and that should be an accurate representation of what our block looks like in real life. Last thing we're going to do, we're going to dimension it. Grab the dimension tool. I want you to just give me all the critical dimensions. We know it's 5 inches long. We know it's 2 inches high. While I'm dimensioning this, guys, I want you to remember that a technical drawing is like writing a book. It's telling a story. You don't want to leave any parts out of your story. And so you need to tell your reader all the critical information that they need to know in order to reproduce the part that you've designed. Okay? It looks like we've got all our critical dimensions. We've got our height, overall width, overall length. We have the width of our center section. We have the height of the drop, and we also have the width of the little ear that sticks up here. Now, I've doubled up on critical information. I could just delete this dimension here, because the understanding is, well, if this is 3 inches on center and my object's 5, I'm going to have an inch here and an inch here. Otherwise, guys, that's fantastic. Very simple to use. Watch this tutorial as many times as you need, and feel free to ask any questions as well. Very good, and good luck.